fabled heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
The wind howled a mournful dirge through the skeletal branches of the blackwood trees, mimicking the icy claw that gripped my heart. I clutched the worn leather reins of my stallion Nightfall, his breath misting in the frigid air. I was close, too close. The fortress of Volkovia, a jagged scar on the horizon, loomed like a promise of both salvation and damnation. For 20 years I'd lived a lie. I was Anya Petrova, common stable hand at a remote border outpost, skilled with horses and silent as the grave. A nobody, but my blood sang a different song. I was Anastasia Romanova, the last surviving heir to the Shadowbinding dynasty, hunted since I was a babe. My magic, a volatile force capable of controlling shadows themselves, was a threat to the tyrannical King Thuron, who had usurped my family's throne and slaughtered my kin. My mission was simple, yet felt impossible. Steal back the Shadowstone, the source of my family's power, now in Thuron's possession, and use it to rally the scattered resistance. But Volkovia was a fortress of stone and secrets, guarded by warriors loyal to a man who feared only one thing: my return. I left Nightfall tethered in a hidden grove, cloaked myself in a stolen Volkovian guard uniform, and slipped through the outer defenses with practiced ease. Years of planning had hardened me. Fear was a luxury I couldn't afford. Inside, the fortress was a labyrinth of cold stone corridors and echoing chambers. The air thrummed with suppressed tension, the kind that precedes a storm. I navigated the maze, relying on snippets of information gathered from travelers over the years, each step taking me closer to the heart of the fortress, to the Shadowstone. I found him in the training yard, a whirlwind of lethal grace, Commander Nikolai Volkov, the king's right hand, his most trusted and feared general. Sunlight glinted off the steel of his sword as he sparred with a group of soldiers, each movement precise and deadly. He was everything I hated about Thuron's regime: power, arrogance, and unyielding loyalty. He was also captivating. Tall and broad-shouldered, with raven hair that fell across his brow and eyes the color of a storm-tossed sea, Nikolai exuded an aura of raw power that both intimidated and intrigued me. I quickly reminded myself of my mission. I was Anya, a simple stable hand. He was a commander of the king's armies. We existed in entirely different worlds. My fabricated role granted me access to the stables, a sprawling complex adjacent to the main keep. I cleaned stalls, fed the horses, and listened. I learned about guard rotations, supply routes, and whispers of dissent within the ranks. The stables were also surprisingly close to the ancient catacombs beneath the fortress, catacombs that, according to legend, housed a hidden passage leading to the king's private chambers. Days turned into weeks. I observed Nikolai, watched his movements, his interactions with his men. I saw glimpses of humanity beneath the stern facade, a flicker of concern for an injured horse, a shared joke with a soldier, a quiet moment of solitude in the courtyard. I began to understand that he was not simply a mindless puppet of the king, but a man bound by duty and honor, however misguided. One evening, while tending to a restless mare, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned to find Nikolai standing in the doorway, the dim light casting long shadows across his face. "Anya," he said, his voice a low rumble. "You have a way with horses, I've noticed." My heart pounded in my chest. "They sense kindness, Commander," I replied, keeping my voice steady. He stepped closer, his gaze intense. "And what do you sense, Anya? What do you sense from me?" I hesitated, my mind racing. "Duty, Commander," I said, choosing my words carefully, "and perhaps a burden." A flicker of surprise crossed his face. "You see too much," he murmured, turning away. "Be careful, Anya, such insight can be dangerous." He left, leaving me alone with the echoing silence and the unsettling feeling that I was playing a dangerous game. That night I made my move. Armed with a crude map drawn from overheard conversations, I navigated the dark, damp catacombs. The air was thick with the smell of decay, and the silence was deafening. I felt the familiar pull of my shadow magic, a comforting presence in the oppressive darkness. After what felt like an eternity, I found it, a narrow, stone-lined passage that led upwards towards the heart of the fortress. I pushed the hidden door open and found myself in a small, dimly lit antechamber adjacent to what I knew to be the king's private study. I could hear voices on the other side of the wall, Thuron's harsh, rasping tone and another, deeper voice, Nikolai's. I pressed my ear against the stone, listening intently. "The unrest is growing, Your Majesty," Nikolai said. The people are restless. They speak of a Romanova pretender, a Shadowbinder who seeks to reclaim the throne. Let them speak, Thuron snarled. The Romanovas are dead, all of them. The Shadowstone will remain in my possession, securing my reign for eternity. And if this pretender is real, your majesty, if she manages to infiltrate the fortress, then you, Nikolai, will hunt her down and bring me her head. Show them all what happens to those who defy me. You are my loyal servant, are you not? There was a long pause. I am, your majesty, Nikolai finally said, his voice devoid of emotion. My heart sank. My carefully constructed plan was crumbling around me. I was a pawn in a game I couldn't win. Suddenly, the door to the study burst open, and Nikolai strode into the antechamber. His eyes widened in surprise as he saw me standing there, bathed in the flickering candlelight. Anya, he said, his voice a mixture of disbelief and something else I couldn't quite decipher. I stood frozen, my mind reeling. He knew. He had to know. Commander, I whispered, my voice trembling. He took a step closer, his eyes narrowing. What are you doing here, Anya? Tell me the truth. I knew I couldn't lie, not anymore. I am Anastasia Romanova, I said, my voice gaining strength, and I have come to reclaim what is rightfully mine. His expression hardened. Then you are a fool, Anya, a dead woman walking. He raised his hand, his fingers twitching as if he were about to summon his sword, but he hesitated. I saw a flicker of conflict in his eyes, a battle raging within him. Why, Anya? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. Why did you come here? To save my people, I replied, to end your king's tyranny. He stepped closer, his face just inches from mine. And what if I told you that I, too, wish to end his tyranny? My breath caught in my throat. I wouldn't believe you. Believe it, he said, his voice rough with emotion. But I need proof that you are who you say you are. Show me your power, Anastasia. Show me the Shadowbinder. I knew it was a risk, but I had no choice. I closed my eyes, focused my will, and reached out to the shadows that danced around us. They responded to my call, swirling and coalescing into a tangible force. I opened my eyes and saw the darkness flicker and bend to my will. Nikolai stared at me, his expression a mixture of awe and desire. Impressive, he said, his voice low and husky, but not enough. Show me the Shadowstone, tell me where it is hidden. I hesitated, trusting him was a gamble, but I had no other options. I revealed the location of the Shadowstone to him. His eyes darkened. Meet me in the East Tower at midnight, he whispered. Come alone. He turned and vanished back into the king's study, leaving me alone in the antechamber, my heart pounding in my chest. Was he truly an ally, or was this a trap? I didn't know, but I knew I had to find out. Midnight, the East Tower, I would be there. With or without Nikolai, I would reclaim the Shadowstone, and I would reclaim my birthright. The wind howled outside, a symphony of anticipation and dread. I was no longer just Anya Petrova, the stable hand. I was Anastasia Romanova, the Shadowbinder, and I was ready to fight.